when I first had a job in sales, I was working for Schwann's, which drives around the countryside and also cities, but it's like a freezer truck, ice cream, all sorts of frozen food, and I had never done any kind of job like that before. It was so out of my element. We were basically stuck in a tiny little town in North Dakota, and that was like the only business in town that was actually hiring. And they were basically just hiring anyone with a pulse, because otherwise they never would have hired me, because I was not a good fit for that job.
It's good. What was the job description again?
Yeah, she looked at the job description and she's like, that's not you, Nat. You'd have to talk to people.
You'd have to talk to strangers, like go to door and talk to strangers.
So when I was being trained, like I would walk in there with my little computer and give them a catalog, and I'd just be staring at my computer the whole time, and kind of mumbling, and the trainer, like who had been doing this for like 10 years, took me aside and he was like, Nat, okay, you just gotta think of these people as old friends that you're seeing again, like, and that's how like he developed these long-term relationships with these people, over like years, like seeing them every 2 weeks. But he told me to, even though I was meeting them for the first time, like imagine that they're my friends and just treat them that way. And so I started doing that, and I mean I still was a bad salesman, but I had more fun, they had more fun, I was looking at them in the eye, I was actually smiling, and I started selling more ice cream.
Right. I mean, your sales actually did go up.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean that's one of the things is that if a salesman approaches me and has no idea what I want and doesn't take the time to ask me questions and find out what I want, then why am I going to think that he's actually got my best interest in mind? Kind of like there's two different approaches. Is one, you can try to convince people that they want something, or you can actually try to find out what people want and find a way to give it to them. So there's like different approaches to sales in that sense. But
right, and that's, I mean, like around this time, like we found this book called Sell the Feeling, which helped me a lot in my job, and then later on as I was doing like flipping antiques as a hobby, and then later as a full-time business. But there is a lot of lessons from that book that helped us and kind of took us on this journey of learning more about persuasion, learning more about psychology, learning more about sales. Because like both Martha and I, like we don't like high pressure, in your face type sales tactics, either giving or receiving.
It's really helped learning more about them. Actually, learning about the sales tactics. We're not immune to them just because we know about them. Yeah. Like we can identify the sales tactics, and we can actually tell when, like, wow, this is really effective. They're doing a great job.
And that's the thing. Like I Sell the Feeling. Like that was the first time we realized that. People don't buy like based on reasons. They'll always give some sort of reason to themselves or other people, like saying why they did something. But it's almost always because it was an emotional decision. Like it was the feeling that they got thinking about having that product, thinking about using that service.
Yeah.
It was a feeling. It's emotions.
Like you know who's the best salespeople in the world? Kids. Kids.
They're also extremely high pressured.
Very high pressured. And they make you feel great after you get them something. You get them candy, you get them toys. They make you feel so good because of their enthusiasm, just like, yes, this is wonderful. And grandparents get the best of it because they get to give them all those things and then aren't around when they're not interested in them anymore or different things. But anyway, yes.
So grandparents they get all the excitement and the fun out of it without having to pay the price. The long term.
Pay the price.
The subscription.
Right.
Kids are they're like on a subscription basis. Like every month, right?
Yeah, you get to rent them, but without all the problems of ownership. Okay, that's bad comparison. But so I guess I guess my experience with sales was was as a bartender. Actually, no, my first experience with sales was as a telemarketer in high school.
Oh, that's terrible.
I didn't stay at that job very long. Like, people hated me just because I was a telemarketer. Like, I called them during their meal times, and I had this little script to read, and there was no room to really get to know people and interact with them and find out what their needs were and try. Like, real estate agents have a great job in terms of sales because they actually get to know people or family and what their needs are and look for them on the market for what would actually basically make them happy,
you
like
don't
meet
know
their
that.
needs.
You've never been a real estate agent. You're just making it up.
I looked into it.
She's just making it up. She has a fantasy of someday being a real estate agent.
I learned a lot about it.
We have to hold each other accountable because we do tend to make the mistake of thinking that just because we know some theory, it's equivalent to actual real
Actual
life
experience. Yes, it's true. I read about other people's experiences.
Very dangerous. Very dangerous.
Okay, here's an actual experience I have is bartending. I was actually a bartender.
Yeah, but you weren't selling, were you?
What?
You just stand there waiting for people to ask you for drinks.
It's true. We have a very easy job as bartenders because
servers,
servers in a restaurant are treated like scum, and bartenders are treated like superstars, basically. So yes, bartenders are in a much better position because in fact, like, a server will never turn you down if you want to order something. In fact, they're going to try to push more on you. Like, do you want dessert? Do you want this? Do you want this? But a bartender might actually have to cut you off at some point and say no more.
Yeah, selling drugs. If you're selling drugs legally, you're in a pretty good job. It's pretty good.
People will come to you.
People will come to you. Yeah. So, good job, Martha.
So
good job. You sold them alcohol.
Hey, yeah, I did. I did a great job too. I did a great job.
She actually did. It's true. She's an amazing salesman.
I went above and beyond.
Okay, but here's the thing. No. Quiet. Here's the thing with sales. Is that, like, everything we're talking about so far, and like as we were learning, like, the reason it became such an important part, not just because we were trying to make money off sales in different ways, but we realized, like, sales has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with money. It is just like, that's one tiny part of, like, sales. Like, what we're doing right now, we're selling to you. We're selling you whatever ideas are coming out of our mouth as being halfway, reliable, halfway, entertaining or whatever. I mean, it's like we have avoided.
What are we selling? That's a great question. What are we selling? Why the heck are we doing that?
I don't know. That's the other thing. Like, always know what you're selling. That's rule
always
number one.
Know what you're selling and believe in what you're selling.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what we're selling, but I think I believe in it.
Yeah, we definitely believe in it. But this is the thing. Like, I mean, both Martha and I have avoided so many arguments with people just based on that knowledge that people's minds are not convinced by logic or facts. Like, we all believe that we are. Like, I mean, we all believe that we make decisions based on reason, which is why people, especially on the internet or anywhere, like with your family, like, people just argue for years, decades, whatever. And that's the thing. It's like, it's not. It's like there's some deep emotional thing that's like some sort of emotional disconnect between the two parties, and no amount of reason is ever going to solve that problem.
There's usually some kind of an emotional or deeply personal connection. Like, if there's a debate where you're just butting heads and you're just arguing, and you're using arguments and reason and examples and stuff, but just not getting anywhere, there's usually something deeper than reason. There's some kind of very deeply personal, emotional thing.
And that's why, like, in sales is so hard, because you don't have, like, a whole, like, life history or, bigger relationship to keep that going. Like if a salesperson treated you that way, if a salesperson treated you the way that your family treats you, you would be gone in like 5 seconds. Right? I mean, you would just be gone. I mean,
depending on the family.
Even the worst salesperson, like, smiles at you at least. Like, I mean, isn't that true though? Like, I mean, it's the emotion. Like, we want to feel like we're being taken care of. We want to feel like we're being listened to. We want to feel like the other person has our best interest in mind. Mm-hmm. And we want to feel like we can trust them. That is all on an emotional level.
Now, here's one thing,
Mostly.
is influencers. Influencers are a big deal on social media. I mean, they're huge nowadays because of all social media and different things. And when I first started getting into social media, I really appreciated the encouraging, uplifting posts from different influencers because I needed it. It made me feel better. It encouraged me. But then as I kept seeing it over and over, and as I started to experience like real life disappointments and things aren't as rosy and easy as these people try to make you think, make me think, I see posts like that. I'm like, okay, give me a little more depth and give me a little more of a real picture, kind of thing, because it's always both, I mean, it's like you were saying, comparing family to salespeople, right? The reason family treats you that way is it's more of a real, you've got more history, you've got more lived experience living with that person and seeing the reality of both sides, all sides of them, kind of thing, versus the salesperson, you see the smile and the...
What?
What am I getting at? What am I getting at?
Family arguments or family, like...
I know.
I mean, I'm not talking about the good moments. I'm talking about
I'm just saying
the
that...
bad ones.
Right, but I'm just saying that if you spend all your time listening to influencers and all the good stuff, and they're never giving you any of the bad stuff, and you experience that bad stuff, then you can feel betrayed. I would say I'm not being specific enough.
No, you're not. Once again, you're talking about theory.
Let's talk about web development, okay? So I see posts all the time like, you can learn web development, you can do this, and you can get a job out of boot camp, and you can do all these things, all these really encouraging sales tactics.
Yep, that's sales. It's sales.
But my experience talking to other people who haven't been able to get jobs, who have gone to boot camp and are still searching for jobs and have to just end up taking some other job because they couldn't break into the tech. I mean, yeah, it's just be aware that people are selling. Even if you're not giving in any money, they are selling. We're selling something.
Yeah, we are selling something. And that's another thing. Like, if you want to sell someone on something, get them to imagine it. Like, even imagining them like owning it, or like in a job interview, imagine like if you can get them to imagine you actually on their team already, like that is gold. I mean,
right? Imagine you on their team already.
And that's another like thing we learned was like assuming the sale. Like just talking. Like right now, like I am assuming you are enjoying watching this video.
Yeah, definitely. And are very interested in everything we're saying.
Right.
And are being inspired and...
Yeah, just imagine how good you feel right now that you clicked on this video. Well, so you don't even have to imagine it because you already did it. Like that's the thing. Like you already...
We're the ones imagining.
We already sold you. We sold you before you even clicked on the video. And now we're selling you on continuing to watch.
That's right.
Like you could have turned this off 5 minutes ago, but you didn't.
Or maybe you did, and we're just talking to ourselves.
But we're assuming the sale.